Welcome to the world where strength, honor, and destiny collide. In the sprawling metropolis of Neo-Tokyo, two warriors rise from shattered pasts to challenge fate itself. Jinwoo, the shadow-born fighter with a mysterious power, and Goto Ryuji, the relentless street samurai bound by pride and vengeance. Their paths cross in a deadly dance, one that will redefine what it means to be a warrior. Prepare for a story of fierce battles, deep bonds, and a secret that could change everything. This is Jinwoo vs. Goto Ryuji, the ultimate battle. The night was a living thing in Neo-Tokyo. Every street hummed with the pulse of neon, every alley whispered the secrets of men who had traded their souls for survival. Above the skyline, towers scraped the clouds, each one glowing like a signal fire in the storm. Rain fell in steady streaks, soaking through the veins of the city. Jinwoo stood beneath an old lamppost whose light flickered between life and death. The rain traced rivulets down his face, but he didn't flinch. He hadn't flinched in years. He watched the digital billboards across the street, a cascade of noise and color. Half-naked idols selling dream pills. Politicians promising purity. Corporations selling happiness in capsules. It was all the same rot that had buried this city long ago. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, he was hunting. He adjusted the collar of his jacket and scanned the street. His footsteps were quiet, deliberate, each movement rehearsed from years spent surviving among killers who could hear a heartbeat in the dark. A soft wind swept around him, tugging at his coat. His thoughts flickered to an old name, one he hadn't said aloud in years, Goto Ryuji. In the broken reflection of a puddle, he saw his own eyes glimmer faintly, unnatural, shimmering with an inner radiance that wasn't human. A reminder of what he carried inside, the shadow core. A curse. A weapon. A promise. Street vendors shouted through the rain. Hot noodles. Real meat. 2,000 yen. Children darted between stalls, their laughter brittle in the air. Jinwoo's gaze remained cold, detached. Somewhere, beneath those neon jungles, his past waited for him like a ghost in the dark. He moved toward the lower districts, into the old part of the city the rich refused to acknowledge. Here the streets were narrow and breathing, alive with the scent of oil, smoke, and decay. A drunk stumbled out of a bar, slurring at nobody in particular. Hey, you. The world's ending, you know that. It's all shadows. Everything. Jinwoo paused. His eyes flicked toward the man. The words were nonsense, or maybe prophecy. A faint whisper stirred behind his ears, carried on the wind. It wasn't just a sound. It was a memory. When the shadow awakens, the world will kneel or burn. He froze. Then, with a slow breath, moved on. The rooftops above hummed with drones scanning the streets for illegal activity. Their red lights swept across Jinwoo's path, reflecting in his eyes for a moment before passing. He waited in perfect stillness, then disappeared into the next alley. Every motion was a dance of silence. Every corner was a potential ambush. He knew someone was following. His senses prickled, so faint most wouldn't notice. A pattern in the sound of the rain. A rhythm that didn't belong. Someone was trailing 2 steps behind, using the city's noise to cloak their approach. He turned left and entered an empty underpass. Footsteps echoed behind him. Don't bother hiding, Jinwoo said quietly. A shadow separated from the dark. The pursuer, a lean man in a reinforced jacket, visor gleaming, held a pistol shaped like a surgeon's scalpel. The man's voice was mechanical. The Umbra sends its regards. Jinwoo didn't answer. The shadow beneath him rippled like ink. The gun fired, a flash of blue discharge cutting through the rain. Jinwoo stepped sideways, the bullet missing him by inches. His movement was fluid, almost unnatural. His shadow rose behind him, stretching, breathing. Before the attacker could reload, it struck, like a living creature bursting from the ground. Tendrils of darkness wrapped around the man's limbs, pulling him to his knees. Jinwoo stepped closer, face unreadable. Tell me who gave the order. The council, the man gasped. They said the core must be reclaimed. You. His voice cut off as his throat constricted under the shadow's grip. Jinwoo stared down at him, eyes glowing faintly violet in the dim light. Then, with a whisper, the shadow retreated, leaving the man unconscious on the ground. The sound of thunder rolled through the tunnels. Neo Tokyo was changing. He could feel it in the air, the same electric charge that once preceded war. Somewhere deep inside, a part of him stirred that he had buried long ago. The hunter in him smiled bitterly. He knew she would find him soon. And where she came, he would follow. Goto Ryuji, the blade of the streets, the wolf of Koto Ward. Jinwoo whispered under his breath, almost to the city itself. It's only a matter of time. He continued deeper into the labyrinth of rain and metal, his silhouette merging with the darkness, as an unseen voice in the wind whispered again. Fate has begun to turn. And atop the highest skyscraper, miles away, a man watched through a scope. The sword at his hip gleamed beneath the lightning. Goto Ryuji smiled. Found you. Lightning split the clouds once again, painting the blades of the skyline in electric white. On a lone rooftop, Goto Ryuji crouched among the antennas, watching the narrow alleys below through his visor scope. The rain hissed off his coat, dripping from the edge of his sword sheath. He had been tracking Jinwoo for days. Each movement matched the pattern Intel described, efficient, disciplined, and deliberate. The man below bore the gait of a trained killer, softened by the solitude of a ghost. But it was the aura that caught Ryuji's attention, the faint shimmer of energy corrupting the air itself. Shadow energy. Unmistakable. Dangerous. He whispered to himself, so it's true. The vessel survived. He stood, the wind whipping his coat. His right hand brushed the hilt of his katana, a blade forged from photon steel, humming faintly with restrained energy. But this wasn't just another bounty. Ryuji needed answers. The last time he'd heard the name Jinwoo was from a dying informant who whispered one phrase before collapsing into darkness: the core has awakened. What core was never explained. But Goto had seen too many streets buried under chaos to ignore a lead like that. He leapt. From one rooftop to the next, his movements were noiseless, honed from years surviving Neo Tokyo's underworld. Down below, Jinwoo continued his lonely walk. He passed flickering hollow shops, shuttered apartments, and android husks forgotten on the roadside. He paused at a street corner where an LED sign glitched endlessly, flashing the same word. Restart. 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 He stared at it. The irony almost made him smile. As if life ever let him restart. Then he felt it, that weight again. That subtle distortion in the air. A presence above him. He turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing. Nothing. Only rainfall drumming against steel. But the predator in him knew better. Someone was watching. Someone good. Jinwoo slipped into the next alley, vanishing into the fog. Goto landed where Jinwoo had been standing seconds before. His boots splashed through the puddles. He scanned the area, the distorted ripples of energy still hung faintly in the rain. So, you noticed me, he muttered with a smirk. Guess the rumors were true. His visor glitched as energy interference spiked, radar filling with static. The shadows around him thickened unnaturally. A whisper crept through the air. You shouldn't have followed. Suddenly, Jinwoo emerged from behind a column, his dark coat drenched and his eyes glowing faintly purple beneath the streetlight. He wasn't holding any weapon, yet his presence felt heavier than any sword. Goto slowly drew his blade. Neon light danced across its edge. I didn't come to kill you, yet, Goto said. But I need to know who you work for. Jinwoo didn't answer. Only silence filled the void between them, the sound of two killers measuring each other. The moment fractured. Goto moved first, slicing through rain and sound alike, his katana's glow leaving a ribbon of light. Jinwoo stepped backward, shadows rippling up around his legs like smoke defying gravity. He twisted, the blade grazing his sleeve. Metal clanged. Sparks flew. The air itself trembled. Goto spun sideways, his second strike faster, horizontal this time. Jinwoo ducked. A flash of movement, and countered with a wave of dark energy that warped the puddles at their feet into black glass. Goto's balance faltered, but he rebounded, crouching low. He had fought monsters, machines, and men, but never someone whose power bent the world itself. He clenched his teeth. What the hell are you? Jinwoo's calm voice cut through the rain. I was created to answer that question. A sudden pulse of energy exploded from Jinwoo's body, sending Goto crashing against a holographic sign that shattered into fragments of light. The glow reflected across Jinwoo's face, half human, half something else. He looked down at his hands, trembling slightly. The power's hunger clawed at his nerves. It always wanted more. More life. More shadow. More control. Control it, he whispered to himself, clenching his jaw. Not now. Goto rose to his feet, wiping blood from his mouth, grinning wildly despite the pain. Shadow energy. I've seen it only once before. He took a stance, rain sliding down the curve of his sword. Guess I'll confirm a legend tonight. Jinwoo stared back, and for a brief instant, the neon rain between them seemed to pause. The moment was electric, two destinies colliding in silence. Then came the noise. A powerful blast of light cut through the haze, splitting the air between them. Both warriors were forced to retreat, shielding their eyes from the sudden glare. From the rooftops above, a chorus of mechanical wings unfolded, Umbra drones. Dozens of them. Jinwoo's expression hardened. Goto cursed under his breath. They found us. The sky itself seemed to descend as energy beams rained down. Without another word, Jinwoo launched upward, shadows carrying him like a storm wind. Goto followed with a single leap, blade flashing. Neon exploded below them. The first war had begun. The morning arrived too soon. Gray light seeped through the clouds over Neo-Tokyo, stained with the aftermath of another corporate riot. Sirens wailed faintly somewhere in the north districts, swallowed by the constant hum of the waking metropolis. Jinwoo moved carefully through the underbelly of the city, a network of tunnels and abandoned train lines forgotten by time. It was here that fortune, blood, and survival all changed hands under the blinding lights of the underground ring. He descended a rusted staircase, boots echoing softly against metal. The faint rhythm of drums rolled beneath the surface, growing louder with each step. A hidden door opened with a hiss, revealing a vast chamber carved beneath the city's bones. Thousands filled the stands surrounding a central cage. Smoke, whiskey, and adrenaline thickened the air. Everywhere he looked were traces of desperation, fighters wrapping their hands with bloodied cloths, gamblers shouting over odds, machines counting credits faster than human eyes could follow. A guard gestured wordlessly. New entry. This way. Jinwoo signed nothing, said nothing, just nodded once and followed. His registration was already handled by someone unseen. He suspected Umbra had a reason for drawing him here. In the center of the ring, two men traded blows like wild animals. Flesh met steel. The crowd roared as one fighter fell, his body skidding across the floor. Winner, Goto Ryuji. The announcement thundered through the chamber. Jinwoo's eyes lifted briefly. There he was again, the same man from last night's ambush. Calm, proud, and dangerous. Goto sheathed his blade and offered no bow, only silence. Then his gaze flicked across the audience and landed on Jinwoo. Recognition. Curiosity. A flicker of something more, respect, maybe, buried beneath the thrill of battle. Backstage, the fighters moved like ghosts preparing for war. Jinwoo tightened the wrappings around his wrists as the handler scanned him with a biometric stick. Name. The handler asked lazily. Jinwoo looked up. No name. The man frowned. Everyone needs one in the ring. Then call me, Shadow. The guard's smirk faded. Something about that tone bled authority. When he entered the corridor leading toward the battlefield, the ground vibrated beneath his boots. The crowd's chant swelled. Fight! 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 Goto sat on a nearby bench, bandaging a shallow wound on his shoulder. His manager, an older man with cybernetic implants, leaned against the wall, lighting a cigarette. You've got another one coming up. Some mystery fighter from the north sectors. Goto took a slow breath. What's his name? They're calling him Shadow. The cigarette almost slipped from the old man's fingers as he looked into Goto's eyes. Don't go all out on him, Ryuji. This one's different. Management's watching. Goto's lips tightened, then curved into a faint smile. Different is good. He rose, every movement smooth and deliberate, his katana humming softly within its sheath. The rain outside beat against the ventilation pipes like war drums. The announcer's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event of tonight's arena cycle. In one corner, the undefeated champion of the East. The Iron Wolf, Goto Ryuji. The stands erupted in chaos. Fans screamed his name, neon bracelets flashing in unison. And his challenger, newcomer from the shadows of Sector 12, the one they call Shadow. Jinwoo stepped into the ring beneath a halo of light. He wore no armor, no markings, only his dark coat and cold eyes. The air trembled with tension as the two warriors faced each other. Goto placed a hand on his sword. Back again already. Jinwoo's voice carried through the roar of the crowd. Last night wasn't finished. A flicker of a grin crossed Goto's lips. Good. I hate unfinished business. The floor lights dimmed. The signal dropped. A digital count began. 3, 2, 1. The moment the gong rang, everything erupted. Goto moved first, a blur of silver. His blade arced downward with surgical precision, aiming for Jinwoo's shoulder. But Jinwoo vanished half a step before the strike connected, reappearing on the opposite side of the ring. The crowd gasped. The shadow left behind collapsed like smoke, dispersing. Goto didn't hesitate. He switched stance, pivoted, and slashed across the center. Jinwoo ducked low, sliding beneath the strike, his hand brushing Goto's leg. For an instant, the steel glowed black, as if the shadow had infected it. Goto staggered back, eyes narrowing. You play with tricks. Not tricks, Jinwoo said quietly. Instinct. The lights flickered as Jinwoo's aura intensified, shadows flooding upward from the floor. For the first time, Goto felt unease stir at the edge of his focus. He lifted his katana, channeling concentrated energy through the blade until it gleamed like a fragment of a star. The next blow resounded through the entire chamber. A ring shattered. The crowd went silent for half a heartbeat. Then cheers exploded again, drowning reason. Neither fighter moved to strike immediately after, they simply studied the other, both breathing hard, both smiling despite themselves. It wasn't just battle, it was communion. They were beginning to understand each other without words. The air inside the arena felt alive, pulsing with heat and anticipation. Every heartbeat from the crowd thundered like a drum against the walls. Two forces, one forged by discipline, the other born from darkness, stood ready to break the limit of their existence. Jinwoo drew in a steady breath. His eyes shimmered faint violet, dark energy coiling around his frame like ethereal mist. Across the ring, Goto readied his stance, lowering his center of gravity, his blade angled slightly downward, gleaming beneath the harsh light. The referee's hand rose, trembling from the intensity radiating between them. And then, he dropped it. The second round began. Goto lunged forward, closing the gap in a blink. His katana crashed down, meeting the fold of Jinwoo's arm. Sparks erupted like lightning from steel clashing against shadow. The crowd gasped, roaring with primal excitement. Jinwoo countered, weaving beneath the next strike. The air bent around his strike, a fluid motion guided by something other than sheer skill. The shadow stretched from his palm, striking like a serpent toward Goto's exposed ribs. But Goto anticipated it. He pivoted sideways, his blade slicing through the guise of darkness. The tendril dissolved in midair. Too slow. His knee connected with Jinwoo's ribs, a dull thud echoing through the chamber. Jinwoo staggered back, gripping his side, a faint grin slipping through his stoic mask. You're good, he said breathlessly. Goto scoffed. You call that good? I'm still warming up. The floor panels beneath them flickered, registering their movement for the spectators above. Each strike left luminous trails across the digital projection, painting light and shadow like combat art. The audience leaned forward, captivated by the rhythm, the dance of death. Jinwoo's shadow expanded once more, covering the ground beneath Goto's feet. He snapped his fingers, and from that darkness, arms of pure energy erupted upward. The arena trembled as Goto was momentarily lifted off balance. He gritted his teeth. Enough of this. Channeling his own spirit energy, Goto released a shockwave of raw power from his core. The shadows shattered like glass, dissipating into glittering fragments. The sheer impact sent the nearest spectators stumbling back against the barriers, screaming with exhilaration. Both warriors slid several feet apart, breathing heavily. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other through the haze of smoke. Then, without a word, they advanced again. Their movements were faster now, almost beyond the human eye, steel cutting arcs through invisible air, shadows weaving counterattacks between each strike. The room thundered with the force of their battle. Jinwoo's mind hummed with a sharp focus. Every calculation, every breath. He was no longer fighting to win. He was measuring Goto. And then it happened. His power surged beyond his control. A pulse rippled outward, dark light flooding his veins. His heartbeat slowed, and for an instant, silence filled the arena. The lights flickered and died, leaving only Jinwoo's glowing eyes visible in the void. Goto froze. He could feel it, the cold, ancient force pressing against his spirit. The hairs along his arm rose. It was as if the world itself had turned its gaze toward this one man. Jinwoo whispered something too faint to hear. Then, the darkness moved. It wasn't smoke or mist, it was alive. The shadows twisted into the form of spectral wolves circling him, their eyes burning with mirror light. The crowd screamed, some believing its stage effect, others realizing the danger too late. Goto gripped his sword tighter. So this is your real power. Jinwoo's expression was empty. I told you, I didn't come here for glory. With a single gesture, the wolves leapt. Goto met them head on, slicing through one, then another, his blade singing through the air. But each time he struck, the shadows regenerated, feeding on the light around them. For every one he cut down, two more formed from the darkness. Damn it, he growled. He jumped high, flipping mid-air, his katana cutting a radiant arc of energy that burned through the illusionary beasts. The light ripped through Jinwoo's energy field, peeling back layers of shadow, but it still wasn't enough. The core inside Jinwoo was awakening. A familiar voice echoed from the stands. Enough. The entire arena fell silent. A figure descended from the VIP platform, dressed in a black trench coat with a silver crest on his chest, the mark of Umbra. He raised a hand, and the floor beneath Jinwoo began to glow with intricate sigils. Energy surged up around his legs, binding him in an ancient seal. Goto hesitated, lowering his blade slightly. What the hell is this? The man didn't answer him, his gaze fixed only on Jinwoo. You were not supposed to surface yet, Subject 13. The council commanded restraint. Jinwoo's eyes flared brighter, shadows writhing violently around the sigils. I don't take orders from you anymore. Cracks formed in the glowing circle. The Umbra agent stepped back, alarmed. Contain him. Guards rushed forward, aiming weapons, energy rifles built to suppress rogue wielders. But before anyone could react, the seal shattered, the shockwave throwing everyone back. Jinwoo stood amidst the chaos, breathing harshly, eyes glowing brighter than ever. He glanced once at Goto, voice trembling from exhaustion. This is what they made me. Goto stepped forward, blade lowered, not as an enemy, but as a soldier. Then let's finish this, together. The announcer never called a winner that night. The arena burned for hours until authorities sealed it off. What survived wasn't a match, it was the beginning of a legend whispered across Neo-Tokyo's underground for decades to come. Some said they saw shadows walking under the smoke. Others swore they saw two figures escaping together into the storm. But one thing was certain, the city would never be the same again. The rain had stopped by dawn. Smoke still curled in the distance, rising from what remained of the underground ring. Sirens wailed faintly through the fractured skyline. Jinwoo sat on the edge of an abandoned freight dock, watching the sun crawl slowly over the Pacific horizon. Pale orange light brushed the metal ruins, painting everything in the same shade of loneliness. He had no memory of sleeping. Only silence. And the faint murmur of the shadows resting beneath his skin. Each breath carried a weight beyond exhaustion, like his body had forgotten how to belong to a human world. He stared into the reflection on the water's surface. His face. His eyes. There it was again, that faint, swirling pattern of dark energy within his pupils. A mark that refused to fade no matter how many years passed. Still following me, aren't you? He whispered to the reflection. The water rippled as if answering. Behind him, a soft metallic footstep echoed. Jinwoo's instincts flared, but he didn't move. Goto approached quietly, the same blade now wrapped in torn cloth at his waist. The edge was chipped from their last battle, but he hadn't let it go. You move quicker than most men can fall, Goto said with a faint smirk. Jinwoo didn't reply. You could have killed everyone in that arena, Goto continued. But you didn't. Jinwoo's eyes lifted slightly. Doesn't change what almost happened. You're still in control. He turned toward Goto, his expression unreadable. Control. You saw what was inside me. That thing isn't power, it's hunger. For a moment, neither spoke. The ocean waves broke softly against the docks, filling the space between them with a strange peace. Goto finally sat beside him, resting the katana across his lap. Then maybe it's not about control, he said quietly. Maybe it's about direction. Easy words. Hard truth. Jinwoo almost smiled. Almost. The horizon blurred for a moment, a memory threaded itself through his vision. The dojo. The smell of pine. The voice of his master. You must learn to face the shadow within yourself, Jinwoo. Strength without soul is chaos. He remembered those words like they had never left him. He remembered the weight of every lesson, every strike, every scar carved into his young body by training designed to break weaker spirits. Years earlier, a small boy stood barefoot in the mountain snow, breathing through pain. His tiny fists bled as they struck a cedar post again and again. An old man stood nearby, robes heavy with frost. Why do you fight? The boy whispered through clenched teeth, so I won't be weak again. The master nodded. Then your fear is your only enemy. Defeat that first. The rest will follow. Lightning cracked across the distant clouds. And in that moment, the faint pulse beneath Jinwoo's skin first stirred, the earliest echo of the shadow core. The old man saw it, though he never spoke. He had known what the boy truly was. And one night, the men from Umbra came for him. Back to the present. Jinwoo exhaled slowly, the memory fading. They took me from there when I was 15. Told me I was chosen. Said the world needed balance again. Goto's gaze hardened. Balance, huh? Sounds like something they'd say before erasing a city. They called it the core project. I was the third subject to survive the infusion. Others. He trailed off. Goto looked at him sideways. They used you as a weapon. The experiment was meant to fuse the essence of the shadow realm with human will. But they didn't expect it to work. And when it did, they tried to contain me. So I ran. Silence again. The distant sound of gulls over the water interrupted the stillness. Goto finally asked, so what now? The Umbra won't stop. You saw that order seal. They'll send more. Jinwoo's answer came with quiet determination. Then I'll make sure they stop. Goto rested both hands upon his knees, his voice firm. Not alone. Jinwoo glanced at him. You planning to help me? I'm planning to finish what I started. And I don't like leaving jobs half done. Their eyes met, the sharp glare of fire and shadow, both scarred, both stubborn. For the first time, an understanding passed between them that words couldn't describe. They stood together as the morning light stretched across the bay. Far off, a black drone hovered, watching from above. Its single red optic recorded their every movement before vanishing back toward the city core. Somewhere deep within a skyscraper, screens flickered to life. The Council of Umbra observed silently. Their leader's voice broke the quiet. If he remembers what he is, the world will burn. The stillness of the dawn didn't last. By noon, Neo Tokyo was alive again, a storm of noise, color, and machinery. But in a quiet district near the old harbor, something darker stirred behind the facades of empty buildings. Inside one of them, a small transmitter blinked red. Jinwoo and Goto had taken shelter in an abandoned train control center. The walls were lined with forgotten circuits and rusted wires. The faint hum of old electricity lingered like a ghost refusing to die. Goto leaned against a table, arms crossed. They'll come soon. You do realize that, right? I know, Jinwoo said flatly, tightening the straps on his gloves. That's why we wait here. Goto frowned. Wait. Not run. Running never helped. Last time I tried, my entire squad disappeared. This time, I'm ending it before it spreads. You sound like you've done this before. Jinwoo met his gaze. I have. A few moments passed. Goto watched the faint light from a cracked window slide across Jinwoo's face. There was a strange calm in the man's posture, a confidence that belonged to someone who had already accepted his fate. Goto finally asked, if you were built by Umbra, then what's left of you that's still human? Jinwoo didn't answer immediately. The question hurt more than Goto imagined. He looked at his hands. The faint scars along his knuckles told a story no power could erase. I don't know, Jinwoo admitted quietly. Maybe the part that still feels fear. Before Goto could speak again, a faint beep interrupted them. The nearby monitor flickered to life, lines of code forming into coordinates. Jinwoo stared at the numbers. They found us. At first, the sound came as a vibration through the metal floor. Then came the hum, a low frequency that shook the bolts loose from the ceiling. Outside, black crafts descended through sheets of rain, their engines burning electric blue. Each one bore the Umbra insignia, an eye surrounded by 4 blades. Goto drew his katana, eyes narrowing. Guess we've been promoted to high priority. Jinwoo stepped forward, the familiar pulse of shadow beginning to wrap around him. Then let's make sure they don't forget why. The first blast tore through the side of the building. Fragments of steel exploded inward as soldiers in black armor stormed through the breach. Their visors glowed faintly red, scanning both fighters in synchronized precision. Target confirmed, Subject 13 and Rogue Samurai Goto Ryuji. Authorization to engage. Energy rifles locked and charged. Goto kicked over a broken desk, deflecting the first volley. Bullets of condensed plasma shattered against his sword as he spun forward, slashing through the nearest attacker. One motion, one cut. Jinwoo's shadows surged outward from him like living smoke. The darkness intercepted incoming projectiles midair, dissolving them with unnatural hiss. His hand raised, and a tendril of shadow lassoed one soldier by the throat, yanking him upward before tossing him across the room. Fall back. One soldier shouted, but it was too late. The room erupted into chaos. Goto plunged deeper into the line of enemies, his strikes fast and surgical. Metal clashed against energy fields, sparks painted the walls in fiery streaks. Every step he took came with precision, no wasted motion, no hesitation. You always fight this tidy. Jinwoo shouted over the noise. Old habit. Goto grunted, parrying another attack. Jinwoo smirked faintly. I can see that. He raised both palms, releasing a controlled burst of shadow energy that expanded through the air like a shockwave. The soldiers caught within it froze mid-step, their bodies trapped between dimensions for a split second before vanishing into dust. The power drained him, if only slightly. He could feel the core within his chest stir, murmuring in an old language that wasn't human. Not yet. He clenched a fist, forcing it down. For a moment, the room fell eerily silent. Only the sound of rain dripping through the collapse remained. Goto picked up a fallen rifle, examining it. Umbra tech. Looks new. They've upgraded since last year. They've been preparing, Jinwoo said. For this exact moment. You mean, for you? Jinwoo didn't argue. Instead, he turned toward the shattered wall, watching more dropships descending in the distance. His voice was low. They'll keep coming until they get what they want. Then we take the fight to them. Jinwoo looked at him sharply, as if studying his sincerity. You realize what you're saying? Goto sheathed his sword, resting his hand on the hilt. Yeah. I'm saying I'm done running too. Something in Jinwoo eased for the first time that day, a silent acceptance that maybe, this time, he wasn't alone in the storm. Far above them, inside one of the descending ships, the Umbra commander watched the data stream flicker across her visor. A subordinate approached. Ma'am, the containment team has failed. Should we deploy Phase 2? She turned toward the window, gazing down at the wreckage below. Her eyes were gray like fog. Deploy the Enforcer, she said calmly. If Subject 13 resists, erase the district. In the distance, thunder rolled again. The wind shifted, colder, heavier. Both Jinwoo and Goto heard the faint mechanical roar approaching through the clouds. Goto exhaled slowly. They're sending their monster. Jinwoo's expression darkened. The Enforcer unit. They used it to destroy my village. He flexed his hand, shadows pulsing through his skin. It's time I returned the favor. Goto glanced at him, half grinning. Try to leave something standing this time. Not making promises. The world lit up with lightning as their next battle began. Night blanketed Neo Tokyo again, but the darkness this time was heavy, suffocating. The city skyline glimmered faintly beneath a canopy of storm clouds, yet deep in the abandoned sector, where Jinwoo and Goto took their stand, the light barely touched the ground. A low-frequency vibration rippled through the drenched streets. Windows cracked, shards trembling loose as waves of energy scattered dust and gravel. From beyond the haze, a sound emerged, deep mechanical breathing, laced with the grind of metal upon metal. The Enforcer, Jinwoo murmured. Goto tightened his grip on his katana. I've heard stories. 9 feet tall, full synthetic, no soul left inside. True, Jinwoo said softly. But the part they don't tell is that it feels pain. That's what makes it dangerous. Lightning burst across the horizon, outlining a figure emerging from the rain, a colossal humanoid with obsidian armor and lights that pulsed red along its limbs. Each step sank into the ground, leaving molten grooves in concrete. Its right arm, massive and deliberate, transformed into a plasma cannon with every movement. The Umbra insignia glowed on its chest. It stopped 50 meters away, scanning the area. Subject 13 detected, its mechanical voice droned. Eliminate resistance. Goto rolled his shoulders. Seems polite enough. Jinwoo sighed, lowering his stance. Keep moving. It adapts to patterns. Patterns. Goto smirked faintly. I don't have any. The Enforcer opened fire. A line of energy speared through the air, ripping asphalt like paper. Goto darted sideways, pushing off a wall to gain height. His blade flashed once, then twice, cutting into the machine's shoulder. Sparks erupted, but the wound sealed instantly with molten metal. Goto landed neatly beside Jinwoo. That's new. Jinwoo placed a hand on the ground. Shadows poured outward, swirling beneath him like liquid. Then we hit harder. The darkness shot upward, forming massive spikes that pierced the asphalt, lunging at the enemy like fanged chains. The Enforcer pivoted, catching one spike with its mechanical arm before crushing it. Then it moved, to Jinwoo's surprise, almost like a human fighter. Goto frowned. It's learning. Exactly. Another energy beam fired. Jinwoo reacted, his shadow absorbing part of the blast before rippling apart. Still, the heat singed through his coat. The impact shook him backward, smoke rising from his arm. Goto caught him before he fell. You good. Got worse injuries during training, Jinwoo muttered, regaining his footing. Just checking. The enforcer's voice rattled again. Subject 13 stability decreasing. Retake at minimal lethality. Goto spat to one side. Tell your masters I'm not on the schedule. He charged forward. Time slowed. Goto's steps were a blur, each footfall an echo through puddles and steel. The enforcer swung a massive arm downward, but Goto ducked, sliding beneath it, sparks flaring as the metal scraped against his sword's edge. Then, with a shout, he cut deep through the machine's knee joints. Hydraulic fluid spilled across the pavement. The machine roared, adjusting its form. Mechanical limbs split, expanding into 4 appendages. Its upper body rotated, a full circle of blades forming from its spine. Goto jumped back fast as the spinning blades shredded the ground where he'd just stood. He barely avoided the whirring death storm. Hey! He shouted toward Jinwoo. Any chance your trick can outsmart this thing? Jinwoo closed his eyes briefly, summoning focus. The air grew colder. Shadows rippled outward once more, twisting into walls around them. Through the darkness, faint whispers echoed, thousands of indistinct voices murmuring in unison. He raised his hand. Every light within a mile dimmed. The enforcer halted mid-attack as the street around it dissolved into a void field, shapes and edges no longer visible. Only the faint gleam of its red sensors cut through the darkness. Then the shadows struck. Dozens of phantom figures, each a fragment of Jinwoo's energy, rushed toward the machine, striking with ferocity. The enforcer retaliated, cutting through the illusions one after another, but for each one destroyed, another took its place. Inside the chaos, Jinwoo moved seamlessly between shadows, drawing close enough to plant his palm against the machine's armor. Energy surged from his hand like black lightning, crawling over the enforcer's frame. Its system lights flickered chaotically. Now, Goto! Jinwoo shouted. Goto flung his blade high into the air, catching a bolt of lightning as it struck. The charged edge screamed with raw energy as he descended, slicing clean through the machine's chest. The blast that followed shook the entire district. When the smoke cleared, the enforcer was down, half its body melted into slag. Jinwoo and Goto stood several feet away, panting hard. Steam rose from the cracked pavement. Goto sheathed his sword with a faint tremor in his hands. Is it over? Jinwoo eyed the wreck cautiously. Not yet. The remnants of the machine twitched, its still functioning arm grasping for a weapon. Then, in an unnatural lurch, its sensors fixated on Jinwoo again. Goto stepped forward. Stay behind me. Jinwoo didn't argue, but as the machine raised its cannon a final time, he knew what he had to do. He lifted his right hand, summoning all remaining energy. The shadow burst upward, then imploded inward, compressing into a dense orb of pure darkness. He hurled it straight into the enforcer's core. Everything went silent for a heartbeat. Then, the explosion. A sphere of black light engulfed the machine, consuming it completely before collapsing into nothingness. The air warped from the pressure, tearing apart debris and echoing down the street. When silence returned, only the rain remained. Goto whistled softly. Remind me never to stand in front of that again. Jinwoo exhaled, shadows fading back into faint mist. You'd better not. They walked through the debris in silence. The enforcers remained smoldered beneath the rain, emitting a faint hum as if the machine's spirit refused to die. Jinwoo's pace slowed, exhaustion seeping into his bones. Goto noticed. Still feeling that core thing. Jinwoo nodded slightly. Every time I use it, I lose part of myself. But we didn't have a choice. Goto looked toward the ruin of the enforcer. Then let's make every part count. Jinwoo almost smiled at that. You talk too much for a silent samurai. Yeah, well, someone has to keep you from disappearing entirely. High above, in the black clouds, a satellite lens focused on the burning district. Umbra Command analyzed the live footage in silence. A voice filtered through the speakers. Transmission confirmed. The core is resonating again. Another replied, and the samurai. Still alive. Shall we proceed with elimination? A pause. Then the voice of the commander. No. Let them run. The core will consume him soon enough. We only need to wait. Below, Jinwoo and Goto stepped into the fog-filled street, their silhouettes fading into the storm, the hunter and the sword, walking toward a destiny neither yet understood. Rain continued to fall over the shattered district long after the enforcer's destruction. The sky simmered with low thunder, its color a dull purple against the glow of broken neon from nearby towers. Smoke rose from the ground where the explosion had ripped the streets apart, curling upward like spirits returning home. Jinwoo and Goto walked side by side through the desolation. The air smelled like burnt metal and ozone, heavy with the weight of the fight. Every step splashed against puddles of ash and shattered glass. Neither spoke for several minutes. They didn't have to. Both were too used to silence, it followed them everywhere. Finally, Goto broke it. You shouldn't have done that. Jinwoo's steps slowed. Done what? That last move. You nearly erased half the block. It was the only way. And next time, when that shadow eats you from the inside out, will you tell me it was the only way then, too? Jinwoo turned toward him, rain streaking across his face. If it saves lives, yes. Goto stopped walking. His voice lowered. That power's not yours. It never was. You control it for now, but the moment you slip, everyone pays the price. Don't confuse survival with sacrifice. The words struck harder than any blow could have. Jinwoo said nothing, only looked away, his thoughts drifting to the dying light that once filled his old master's eyes. Goto's tone softened. I've seen men lose themselves to power. Good warriors. You're not one of them, yet. Don't make me watch that happen. The conversation faded back into the hum of the rain. They found an abandoned restaurant partially collapsed from the earlier battle. What had once been a ramen shop now stood in ruin, walls cracked and signboards hanging by one rusted bolt. The faint ghost of old grease and broth still lingered in the air. Jinwoo dropped into a chair that barely held his weight. Goto rummaged through the debris, finally finding an intact box of emergency rations. Best I can do, he said, tossing one to Jinwoo. I've had worse. Jinwoo tore it open and chewed without care. The silence stretched again until Goto finally asked, back in the fight, when you used the core, what did you see? Jinwoo glanced at him. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. He took a breath. A place buried in darkness. I could feel the air, thick, heavy. And there were things there. Watching. Waiting. Every time I use the core, it connects me to that realm. The shadow realm. Sounds like hell. Jinwoo nodded. Maybe it is. Goto leaned back, arms folded. So that's what Umbra was experimenting with. Bridging two worlds. Using you as the key. They wanted a weapon strong enough to control both realms. I just happened to survive long enough to break their chains. He paused, his tone shifting. You saw the sigil they used on that agent. That's their mark of control. It works even on me, if placed right. So they could take command of you. Goto frowned. They've tried before. The thought unsettled both of them. Outside, lightning flashed again, illuminating a lone figure standing on a rooftop across the street. Cloaked in black, motionless. Watching. Goto's hand went immediately to his blade, his instincts kicking in. We're being followed. Jinwoo didn't move but shifted his gaze toward the window. He saw it too, the faint shine of red optics beneath the hood. Before Goto could step outside, Jinwoo raised a hand. No. Let me. He exhaled, allowing the shadow to rise up his arm. The air around the room darkened, warping faintly as if reality bent under his control. His vision blurred for a split second, shifting through light and shadow alike. In that other sight, Jinwoo could see the figure clearly, female, slender, half-mechanized, one eye human, the other synthetic. She wasn't Umbra. Not entirely. She's not with them, he said quietly. Goto tilted his head. Then who? I don't know. But she's been following us since the arena. As if hearing his words, the woman vanished from the rooftop. No sound, no trail. She simply dissolved into thin air, leaving the rain untouched where she once stood. Jinwoo lowered his hand slowly. I've seen that technique before. Goto waited. From who? Jinwoo's throat tightened before he answered. My mentor. The storm deepened through the night. Lightning flashed intermittently, lighting up the destroyed skyline in rhythmic bursts. Jinwoo sat by the broken window, gaze locked on the horizon where Umbra's central tower loomed faintly. All around, the faint hum of city life still persisted, people rebuilding, sirens crying, transport crafts gliding overhead. Life went on, as if wars like theirs had no place in history. Goto sat nearby, sharpening his katana on an old energy rod. The rhythmic scrape of steel on metal filled the silence between them. She looked at you like she knew you, Goto said finally. She did, Jinwoo admitted. Before Umbra took me, before the experiments, she was part of my training unit. Her name was Ayaka. And now, she's something else. Something they made. Goto stopped sharpening. So she's another weapon. Jinwoo's gaze hardened. No. She's the warning. At that same moment, on the rooftop Jinwoo had seen earlier, the cloaked woman stood again. Rain streaked down her pale synthetic face as she whispered into a small communicator. Subject 13 remains unstable. Tracking protocols confirm partnership with target R01. Engaging observation mode. A voice came through the comm, a cold, distorted tone. You've made contact, Agent Ayaka. Proceed with silent surveillance. The Council will act when the Shadow Core reaches critical resonance. Ayaka closed the device slowly, her singular human eye clouded with something like regret. Understood, she whispered into the storm. But he's not the monster you think he is. The transmission ended. Inside the shattered shop, Jinwoo finally let sleep claim him. Shadows faded to nothing, leaving only a trace around his wrist, a faint spiral of purple light that pulsed once before dimming. Goto kept watch by the window. Beyond the horizon, the next storm gathered, far darker than rain, a war that would soon drag the entire city into the same shadows Jinwoo once tried to escape. The storm eased by sunrise. A faint mist hung over Neo-Tokyo, softening the harsh edges of broken walls and soaked streets. For the first time in days, the city looked half awake, like something wounded still trying to breathe. Jinwoo and Goto stepped out of the ruined ramen shop. The sky above glimmered with dull silver light, the rain had thinned into mist. Their boots splashed softly through puddles reflecting neon from a nearby district. Goto adjusted the strap on his shoulder guard. You sure this contact of yours exists? Because walking straight into the east sector sounds a lot like suicide. She exists, Jinwoo replied, voice calm but firm. Or, at least, she used to. Goto sighed. Used to. Great. That inspires confidence. She'll come, Jinwoo said. She always does. The two walked through winding alleys leading deeper into the industrial zone. This part of Neo-Tokyo was older, machines wheezed in the corners, hoses leaked steam, and the streets smelled of rusted iron. It was far from the lights and luxury towers seen in the city's center. Here, everything whispered. Metal, water, air. Every surface carried its own secret. They paused beside an old vending drone that had long run empty. Goto scanned the street with his visor, fingers tense on his sword's hilt. I don't like this place. Too quiet. It's supposed to be, Jinwoo said, eyes narrowing. It's where memory hides. He stepped closer to the mouth of a narrow alleyway, a corridor drenched in shadow despite the daylight outside. It stretched into blackness that seemed to breathe. Goto frowned. That's not normal. No, it's familiar. Jinwoo took a slow breath. The Whispering Alley. This is where I first met her. The alley seemed alive. The sound of water dripping echoed unnaturally, shifting tones like a melody whispered by unseen voices. Every drip formed a rhythm, repeating words Jinwoo almost recognized. His chest tightened. He could feel the core stirring again, reacting to something in the atmosphere. Jinwoo, Goto warned, your mark's glowing. Jinwoo glanced down. The faint spiral of shadow light around his wrist pulsed faster. He clenched his hand, trying to suppress the reaction. She's close, he said quietly. Then, from deeper in the darkness, a figure appeared. Ayaka. The same cloaked woman from the rooftop. Her cloak shimmered faintly in the gloom, the mechanical patterns of her armor reflecting faint purple light. When she stepped into view, rainwater rolled down half her synthetic face, revealing glints of her old humanity hidden beneath. Jinwoo, she said softly. You shouldn't have come here. Goto shifted his stance immediately. You again. Ayaka's mechanical eye scanned him briefly but ignored his poised blade. You don't belong in this fight, samurai. Goto's tone was firm but cold. Then stop dragging us into it. Ayaka turned her gaze back to Jinwoo. Her human eye trembled slightly, a glimpse of emotion buried beneath steel. They told me you died. That the core consumed you. It almost did, Jinwoo replied. But I survived. You know what that means. I do, she said. She took one step forward. It means they'll never stop hunting you. Then help us stop them, Goto interrupted. Her jaw tightened. You don't understand. The core isn't what you think. It was never meant to destroy. It was meant to choose. Choose. Jinwoo repeated. Yes. Her voice softened, almost like she was reciting something sacred. Umbra calls it the bridge. A device built to unite two realities, light and shadow. But when they implanted it in you, it made something else, something living. Jinwoo's pulse quickened. You're saying the core thinks. It doesn't think, she said. It remembers. Goto frowned. And what does it remember? Ayaka hesitated before speaking. The first war between realms. The one that erased the architects of your lineage. You were born because the core remembered their failure and reached for balance. For a long moment, Jinwoo couldn't speak. His memories of torment, training, experiments, all of it, fractured under that single idea. So I'm just history repeating itself, he muttered. Ayaka shook her head gently. No. Your history correcting itself. A faint hum rose in the air. Goto instinctively spun around. Drones, 4 of them, approached from the far end of the street, gliding silently with red scanning beams. The Umbra insignia glowed beneath their carapaces. Ayaka's expression hardened. They found me faster than I thought. How many? Jinwoo asked. Too many. Goto stepped forward, katana flashing. Then less talking, more running. Ayaka reached into her coat and tossed Jinwoo a small crystalline device. There's a terminal in the old harbor rail station, Sector 9. Plug this in. It'll show you what Umbra's planning with the core network. Jinwoo caught it, confusion flashing across his face. You're not coming. Ayaka smiled faintly, her synthetic eye flaring with blue light. Not tonight. I'll buy you time. Don't. Jinwoo said urgently. They'll turn you to dust. I already am dust, she whispered. Before he could answer, she leapt upward, her cloak flaring as wing-like extensions unfolded from her armor. Her figure vanished into the fog just as gunfire erupted above them. Goto grabbed Jinwoo's arm. We're leaving. The sky filled with streaks of crimson energy. Somewhere in the distance, Ayaka's silhouette danced through the air, blades of light flashing as she cut through the pursuing drones. Her voice echoed faintly as the mist swallowed her. Run, before the whispers claim you too. Jinwoo looked back once as they fled through the dripping streets. Behind him, the alley burned with invisible flame, shadow clashing against light in a silent war only he could sense. He didn't see Ayaka fall, but somehow, he knew she would. The rain grew stronger as Jinwoo and Goto sprinted through the lower streets. Behind them, sirens wailed and energy blasts tore through walls. Each step echoed through the hollow alleys, where broken neon signs flickered like ghosts of lives once lived. Goto led the way, cutting any obstacle that stood before them, crates, fallen beams, even malfunctioning drones that tried to block their path. Jinwoo followed close behind, clutching the crystalline device Ayaka had given him, feeling its pulse match his own heartbeat. Faster, he shouted. They'll track us by energy signature. Goto nodded, barely out of breath. Then stopped glowing. I'm trying, Jinwoo muttered. The core reacts on instinct. Well, tell it to shut up before it gets us both killed. Their faint humor touched the edge of panic but kept them steady. The tunnel ahead opened suddenly into the subterranean rails, the forgotten arteries of old Neo-Tokyo. Rusted lines stretched into darkness, disappearing into a breathing abyss. Goto turned on his wrist light, scanning the space. This is the place. Yes, Jinwoo said. The station is at the end of this tunnel, the old harbor line. It hasn't been used since the last flood. Goto scanned the graffiti-covered walls. Messages half buried in moss and grime read run, the dark speaks, and we are watching. Jinwoo frowned. The whispering alley reaches down here too. I hate when you say things like that, Goto muttered. They followed the line for several minutes, boots crunching against gravel and old metal. The deeper they went, the more the shadows seemed to cling to them. When they reached the terminal chamber, it was enormous, a forgotten cathedral of machines. The old signage still hung from the cracked ceiling, Neo-Tokyo Harbor Terminal. An ancient computer core sat embedded into the wall, still faintly flickering with a dull green light. Jinwoo approached it cautiously. This is it. He inserted the crystal Ayaka gave him. The entire space lit up. Holographic maps unraveled in the air, dozens of glowing circuits spreading across the cityscape from a single pulsing source. Goto stared in disbelief. What is all this? Jinwoo's expression darkened. Umbra's resonance network. They've planted energy reactors through every sector. This isn't about hunting me, it's about activating the core in every potential vessel. In English, they're turning Neo-Tokyo into a breeding ground for shadows. Goto stiffened. You mean there are more like you? There were. The failed subjects. Jinwoo's voice lowered. Umbra keeps their remains buried under the central tower. If they reactivate the network, their power merges with the city. Everyone becomes a vessel. For a moment, Goto couldn't speak. The scale of it crushed breath itself. They'd burn the whole world just to control it. That's their plan, Jinwoo said. They call it ascension. A pulse of static rattled through the hall. The hologram glitched, shifting into the image of a face, cold, emotionless, framed by silver circuitry. Umbra's commander. Well done, Subject 13. You found the truth faster than expected. Jinwoo's eyes lifted. You're behind this. Not behind, the hologram answered. Ahead. Every shadow you command, every battle you fight, it all leads to one moment. Your reawakening will open the bridge. The light will fall, and darkness will unify. The voice echoed through the walls. Jinwoo clenched his fists. You won't win. You misunderstand, Jinwoo, the commander said calmly. I already have. The hologram vanished. All at once, the machinery around them began to hum. Panels shifted. A glowing circle lit up at the center of the floor, growing brighter by the second. Goto drew his sword. Looks like they rigged the place. Jinwoo's breathing grew faster, the core inside him flaring uncontrollably. No. They're not detonating it, they're summoning something. From the light, a shape began to emerge. A towering silhouette made entirely of liquid shadow, with eyes burning white. It pulsed, mirroring Jinwoo's aura in inverted color. Goto's voice was low and tense. Tell me that's not you. It's me, Jinwoo said quietly, or the part of me that Umbra left behind. The chamber erupted into chaos. The creature struck first, releasing a tidal wave of darkness that sent shockwaves through the metal floor. Goto barely rolled aside before the ground exploded where he had stood. Jinwoo faced it head-on, summoning his own energy. Two halves of the same being clashed. The entire space shook violently, ancient walls collapsing as bursts of dark light tore through the tunnel. Goto tried to approach, but Jinwoo shouted, "Stay back. If it merges with me, it's over. I don't care." Goto leapt forward anyway, slicing at the creature's arm. The katana met resistance but cut deep enough to distract it. The monster turned toward Goto, snarling an otherworldly sound that vibrated through his bones. Jinwoo took the chance to strike. He formed a blade out of pure shadow energy and plunged it through the creature's chest. The hall filled with a blinding flash as both energies collided. Static silence followed. The creature disintegrated into mist, but not before whispering a single phrase that only Jinwoo heard. "You will never escape me." When silence returned, Goto found Jinwoo kneeling, breathing heavily, his veins faintly glowing purple. He looked like he'd fought himself and barely survived. "Hey!" Goto shouted, kneeling beside him. "You still with me?" Jinwoo's eyes flickered open. Barely. The crystal near the console had turned dark, its energy drained, but before fading completely, it projected a final set of coordinates. Goto read them aloud. Central Tower. The heart of Umbra. Jinwoo pushed himself up, staggering slightly. That's where it ends. Above them, deep inside that very tower, the Umbra commander watched through hovering hollow screens. Phase 1 complete, an aide said quietly. The core's resonance has increased by 30%. The commander smiled faintly. Good. Let him believe he's in control. The closer he comes, the more the bridge awakens. Outside the panoramic window, the city lights dimmed into shadow. Lightning flashed, revealing storm clouds forming the shape of a colossal ring above Neo-Tokyo. Jinwoo and Goto exited the tunnels as dawn broke. The city stood silent, unaware that war was already blooming beneath their feet. Goto looked at his companion's weary face and said, "You sure you're ready for what's next?" Jinwoo gazed at the tower glowing in the distance. "No. But ready or not, it's coming." The wind shifted, cold, heavy, alive. The whispered voices followed them out of the dark all the way to the surface, repeating the same phrase. The bridge must open. Night returned before either of them could rest. The central spire of Neo-Tokyo, known now only as the Umbra Tower, rose through the storm clouds like a blade piercing heaven. Its lights flickered between silver and crimson, and energy waves shimmered around its core. Jinwoo and Goto stood in silence a few streets away, both cloaked beneath broken umbrellas stolen from a nearby vendor. Rain drummed against steel rooftops. The tower pulsed faintly, as if alive, breathing energy through the veins of the city itself. Goto adjusted the grip on his sword. What's the plan? I get the feeling knocking on the front door isn't one of them. There is no front door, Jinwoo said. The tower reads energy signatures. The moment we step through the main corridors, we're vaporized. So, what then? The maintenance ducts. They run beneath the water filtration lines, hidden from surface scanners. Goto snorted. Of course. The sewers. Always the sewers. Jinwoo gave a faint smile. Still better than death. Debatable. The storm thickened as they reached the tower's perimeter wall. Security drones glided quietly between shimmering fields of energy. Each drone carried a small spherical orb glowing with dull blue light, phase mines, meant to erase intruders from existence. Jinwoo motioned for silence and pressed two fingers to the ground. His shadow stretched out thin and flat, spreading toward the tower like rippling ink. Wherever the shadow touched, cameras flickered and powered down. Goto watched quietly. Neat trick. Focus, Jinwoo said. We've got 40 seconds of blindness. They sprinted forward, crossing the open field under sheets of freezing rain. Jinwoo's control over the shadow guided their steps, masking footprints and noise. When they reached the wall, Goto drove his katana into an old vent cover and pulled it free. Lead the way. Jinwoo slipped inside first, landing on damp metal. The tunnel descended sharply, humming with faint electrical current. Goto followed, sealing the vent behind them. The sound of rain faded, only the hollow groan of the tower's innards remained. For 20 minutes, they crawled through the ducts in silence. Occasionally, mechanical sounds echoed through the walls, gears turning, pulses of energy humming like mechanical heartbeats. Goto muttered under his breath, "Feels like we're inside a living thing." Jinwoo's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "We are. The tower is connected to the core's network. It breathes and listens like I do. That's why we need to move fast." When they reached a section where the tunnel widened into a massive conduit, Goto paused at a control panel covered with grime. "You sure this leads to the upper sectors?" "According to the terminal map, yes." Jinwoo knelt beside it, placing Ayaka's drained crystal against the panel. It flashed once, injecting residual code. Ancient symbols scrolled across the surface, command sequences meant to unlock access routes buried by Umbra's engineers. The wall ahead split open with a low hiss, revealing an elevator shaft that climbed endlessly upward. "After you," Goto said. Jinwoo nodded and jumped first, catching a support beam midway and leaping upward in rhythmic bounds. Goto followed seamlessly, his movements more instinct than effort. When they reached an intermediate platform, they crouched behind a metal barrier. Through a cracked window, they could finally see inside the tower's heart. The sight left them speechless. An enormous chamber stretched for kilometers, bathed in artificial twilight. Suspended at the center was the core reactor, an orb of swirling black light, rotating slowly inside containment rings. Streams of data and power coursed upward like luminous rivers, feeding directly into the Umbra network above. Goto exhaled softly. "That thing, is it alive?" Jinwoo's eyes didn't leave it. "It's the original core, what they used to create mine. Every reactor in the city connects here. They're drawing power from both worlds. Meaning, if we destroy that, the entire city goes dark." Goto's brow furrowed. "How dark?" "Completely. No light. No power. No life from machines. A reset." Goto grunted. "Could kill millions." Jinwoo's voice lowered. "If we don't, everyone dies anyway." For a long moment, Goto said nothing. Finally, he drew his sword, resting it lightly against his shoulder. "Then let's find a way to shut it down without ending the world." Jinwoo gave a faint, appreciative nod. For a man who thrived on violence, Goto's restraint was deliberate, honor wrapped in stubbornness. A sudden pulse tore through the air. Red lights flashed across the chamber. The two men froze. Warning sirens echoed from the ducts. "Energy anomaly detected," a robotic voice announced across the facility. "Subject 13 has entered restricted vicinity. Security protocol commencing." Hundreds of mechanical eyes blinked open along the walls. Armed drones detached themselves, spreading like a dark swarm. Goto cursed quietly. "Guess your tower noticed. Then we'll make it notice louder," Jinwoo said. He closed his eyes, channeling energy into his palm. His shadow expanded, seeping across the platform in long, fluid arcs. Lights flickered, cameras melted, and for a second the room plunged into near darkness. Goto took that second and ran. Faster than any man could blink, he launched himself toward the first wave of drones, blades slicing through their engines. Sparks rained down as Jinwoo called the shadows to rise, striking like serpents. The swarm fell apart, tearing itself on invisible blades of energy. But no matter how many they destroyed, more replaced them. And then, everything stopped. A single mechanical voice echoed through the darkness. "Enough." From the opposite balcony, a tall silhouette stepped forward, armored in black alloy, a glowing staff resting in their hand. Their mask bore no mouth, only a single golden crest across the eye line. Jinwoo's entire body went rigid. I know that voice. Goto raised his sword. Who is it? The first vessel, Jinwoo whispered. Umbra's experiment before me. The figure lifted the staff. The air began to pulse. Subject 13, the distorted voice said. You walk the same path I did. But only one of us can exist within the bridge. Energy rippled through the vast hall, shaking dust from the ceiling. The machinery surrounding the reactor began to spin faster, drawing power from both cores, Jinwoo's aura and the reactor's essence, linking them like magnetized flames. Goto shouted over the noise, we fight or run. Jinwoo's reply was calm. We fight. This one doesn't let you run. He stepped forward, the core within him responding to the presence of its original kin. Shadows rose from the floor, swirling around him, forming wings of darkness ready to burst. Across the chamber, the masked vessel mirrored his motion exactly. Light and shadow faced each other. Reflections of the same creation. The first duel for the fate of the core was about to begin. Wind howled through the hollow frame of the Umbra Tower. Every beam, every cable buzzed with energy, vibrating under the power of the twin cores now facing each other. Jinwoo stood at one end of the reactor bridge, his aura flickering between light and shadow. Across from him, the first vessel hovered slightly above the ground, its cloak alive with black waves of compressed energy. Subject 13, the voice droned through the mask, synthetic yet sorrowful. You shouldn't exist. The bridge can hold only one soul. Jinwoo's expression stayed calm. Then I'll fight for the right to exist. The first vessel raised their staff. The world split in two. The first clash burst through the air like thunder. Jinwoo launched forward, shadows forming behind him like wings of smoke. His strike met the glowing blade of the vessel's staff, and the collision released a shockwave that shattered every window in the chamber. Goto crouched behind a collapsed pillar, shielding his face as fragments of metal flew past. He shouted over the roar, try not to bring the whole tower down before I finish my part. Jinwoo didn't answer. He twisted mid-air, spinning into another attack. Each movement painted streaks of violet energy through the fog. The vessel countered with exact precision, echoing every motion Jinwoo made. It was like fighting his own reflection in a mirror that refused to break. You copy me, Jinwoo growled. But you don't understand me. I am you, the vessel replied. I am the version they perfected. Jinwoo roared, unleashing a blast of shadow outward. The explosion illuminated the entire reactor room, bending the metal walkways. For a moment, the vessel's mask cracked, revealing half a human face beneath, eyes haunted and filled with pain. You're lying, Jinwoo said quietly. You were human once. I was more human than you, the vessel snarled, lunging forward. Their blades met again, generating a sphere of dark light that consumed the center of the room. Energy arced toward the reactor, amplifying the storm within. High above, Goto balanced on a narrow ledge, moving quickly along the containment rails. Sparks leapt beneath his feet as he sliced through links connecting the reactor to Umbra's main power lines. He paused beside a control node, scanning the pattern of circuits. All right, Jinwoo, whatever you're doing down there, make it count. He pulled a power regulator out and stuffed an explosive charge inside. The timer blinked to life, red numbers counting down slowly. Then he stopped, glancing behind him. Footsteps. Through the haze of smoke, a new enemy approached, an enforcer variant, smaller than the one destroyed before, but faster and more human-like. Its helmet's shape resembled a skull, eyes glowing a menacing blue. Goto sighed, drawing his sword again. Of course. Couldn't go one mission without a warm-up. The machine moved first, its blade arms slicing across the platform. Goto ducked, sparks raining over his shoulder. He countered with a quick upward strike, cutting deep into the creature's joint. Oil sprayed across the steel railing. But the enforcer didn't flinch. It swung again, blade glowing brighter this time. Goto twisted away, leapt onto a pipe, then dropped behind it just as the creature split the floor where he'd stood. Persistent, aren't you? He charged, lightning flashing behind him, and with a single sweep of his sword, he cleaved through the machine's torso. The impact hurled it backward, its body collapsing into the abyss below. Goto sheathed the blade, exhaled once, and muttered, "Stay down." Back below, the duel intensified. Jinwoo's body burned with energy. Every strike from the first vessel forced him to draw deeper into his own core, blurring the line between control and chaos. The machine's voice thundered again. "You are incomplete. Without the bridge, you cannot contain the infinite." Jinwoo pushed forward with raw willpower, the aura surrounding him reshaping briefly into hundreds of human silhouettes, memories of his fallen comrades, their whispers harmonizing with the hum of his core. "That's where you're wrong," Jinwoo said through clenched teeth. "They complete me." He released everything at once. Shadows erupted from beneath his feet, forming a massive spear made of pure energy. He hurled it forward. The weapon pierced the vessel's chest and pinned it against the reactor wall. The vessel screamed, not mechanical, but human this time. "You think you've won. You've only opened the door." With its final words, the vessel's body disintegrated into streams of data that flooded back into the reactor. The containment rings turned blood red. Jinwoo fell to his knees, watching in disbelief as the core above them pulsed stronger than ever. "No." From the control platform above, Goto's voice echoed. "What's happening? They used me," Jinwoo shouted. The duel, it was a key. The tower's systems came alive. Every monitor in the room blazed with symbols, lines of foreign code streaming endlessly. The reactor pulsed faster, sending dark lights spiraling upward into the clouds beyond the roof. Outside, across the entire horizon, Neo-Tokyo dimmed. Power grids shut down one by one, replaced by columns of black light rising into the air. The bridge between realms had been activated. Goto slid down from the upper rail, landing beside Jinwoo. He saw the look of horror in his partner's eyes. "Tell me we can still stop it." Jinwoo's hands trembled. "Maybe. But only from the inside." "Inside what?" He looked up. "The core itself." Goto stared for a second, then nodded grimly. "Then lead the way." Together, they stepped into the blinding radiance of the reactor as its containment shroud cracked open, swallowing them both in a storm of energy. Above the chaos, inside Umbra's highest command deck, the commander watched in satisfaction. Phase 2 achieved. The core and Subject 13 are merging. An assistant hesitated. "And the samurai?" "An irrelevant variable, for now," the commander replied. "Prepare the ascension signal." The lights around her flickered red as sirens joined the hum of power. And then, slowly, the tower began to rise, not physically, but spiritually, separating itself from gravity's hold as dark clouds coiled in vortex above the city. Deep within the endless light, Jinwoo felt weightless. Voices whispered through the current around him, familiar yet distant. The bridge had opened. Shadows and light twisted together, creating endless patterns in the space between worlds. Goto's voice broke through near him. "If we die here, you better find me in the next life, Shadow." Jinwoo smiled faintly, even as his form began to blur into the energy around them. "Count on it." Their hands met for a moment. Then, the storm consumed them both. There was no sound. No rain. Only silence so deep it bordered on madness. Jinwoo opened his eyes and saw nothing. No sky, no ground. He floated in endless light, weightless, breathless, without direction. The last thing he remembered was stepping into the core with Goto. Now, he felt suspended between two realities, a world that wasn't life or death. The air shimmered around him, rippling like liquid glass. Beneath the faint glow of his aura, memories bled through the walls of his mind. His childhood in the mountains, his training, the screams of his team in the experiment chamber. Everything played out around him in mirrored fragments, overlapping like broken film. "Where am I?" he whispered. A soft voice answered from the void. The place you were born. He turned. Out of the whiteness, a figure stepped forward, a woman wrapped in translucent robes, her body made of shifting light. She looked human, yet not. Her face was calm, her voice echoing with harmonics like ancient chimes. Who are you? Jinwoo asked. I am the bridgekeeper, she said. The first consciousness born from the core. The core has a mind. Her expression didn't change. It is not mind or soul. It is memory, what the world left behind when shadow and light divided eons ago. And you, Jinwoo, are its vessel. I didn't ask to be, he said sharply. No one who carries balance ever asks for it. Her words rang like truth, too heavy to ignore. A dim light flashed nearby. Goto stumbled through the brightness and landed beside him, clutching his side. Tell me this isn't heaven, he muttered, blinking. Depends on your definition, Jinwoo replied. Goto took one look around, then whistled. So, floating nothingness, glowing strangers, and no exits. Great. You lead us somewhere fun, as always. Jinwoo almost chuckled. You're alive. I'll take that as a win. Goto's smile warmed slightly before fading when he noticed the woman. You must be the welcoming committee. I am the bridgekeeper, she said again. One light to guard the path between realms. Goto raised an eyebrow. Could have just said hello. Jinwoo shot him a look. She says this is where I was created. Goto folded his arms. Figures. You never do anything simple. The space around them trembled. Incoming vibrations crawled through the air like thunder. The clouds above turned darker, black veins spilling across the endless light. The bridgekeeper's tone changed. It has begun. What has? Jinwoo asked. The awakening. Umbra is forcing the flow between worlds to stabilize before its time. Soon, your city will become a reflection of this place, half real, half shadow. If the bridge completely opens, both realms will collapse into one. So Umbra wins, Goto said. No. Umbra will burn with it. Nothing survives imbalance. Jinwoo's fists clenched. Then I stop it here. The bridgekeeper moved closer, her gaze steady. To stop it, you must understand it. The shadows you command, they are not evil. They are memory fragments of the old world. They follow you because you are what remains of balance. I'm not balance, he said bitterly. I've destroyed too much. Yet you still feel guilt. That alone makes you more human than those who seek power without conscience. Goto looked between them, unease mixing with awe. So what happens now? Before the bridgekeeper could respond, the void distorted again. A deep pulse echoed through the infinite space, followed by a voice, mechanical and ancient. Return the core. The bridge belongs to Umbra. From the rift above, black tendrils of energy tore open the horizon. Emerging from within was a colossal shadow, vaguely humanoid, its form flickering with fragments of data and fire. At its center glowed the Umbra insignia, the all-seeing eye. The bridgekeeper's tone turned grim. The commander has entered the void. She seeks to control the source itself. Goto gripped his sword. Looks like we've been found, partner. Jinwoo's eyes hardened. Then we finish this. As the creature descended, the white expanse around them shattered like glass. Fragments of reality floated, pieces of Neo-Tokyo suspended in midair, the waterfront, the ruined tower, flashes of Jinwoo's old life, all merging into one unstable battlefield. The commander's voice thundered from within the amalgamation of darkness. Do you see it, Subject 13? This is the new world. No division between the human and the forgotten, only unity through power. You call that unity? Jinwoo shouted, summoning the shadow around him. You're erasing everything that ever mattered. Creation demands destruction, came the reply. You were crafted to build what I could not. Your existence is the final piece. Jinwoo breathed deeply, eyes flaring with violet and blue light, his aura stronger than before. Then I'll break your world before you break mine. Goto stepped up beside him, calm and ready. Guess we're doing this again. Side by side, Jinwoo said. The battlefield roared to life. Shadow met storm. Buildings formed and dissolved mid-air as Jinwoo and Goto charged across floating debris, leaping from one fading fragment to another. The commander's incorporeal form struck with waves of corrupted energy, every blast tearing the dimension further apart. Goto used his blade as an anchor, cutting through the tendrils that lashed toward them. "She's not holding back this time," he yelled. "She doesn't need to," Jinwoo answered. "We're fighting her inside everything she controls." "Great odds," Goto muttered. But neither faltered. Jinwoo propelled himself upward with a burst of energy, his shadow wings unfolding in full for the first time. The sheer force cracked the glowing fragments of terrain beneath him. He focused his will, sending chains of light streaking toward the commander's core. The chains struck true, wrapping around the pulsating eye at the creature's center. Goto seized the moment, leaping high along collapsing debris. His sword shone blinding white as he plunged down through the chains, straight into the commander's core. The impact echoed like lightning, fusing human strength and shadow energy into a single strike. A scream tore through the bridge. The commander staggered, form flickering violently. "You can't destroy truth," she rasped. "You are truth. When you die, the bridge dies with you." Jinwoo stood trembling, shadows rising around him again. "Then I'll take you with me." The bridgekeeper's voice whispered faintly through the fading light. "Jinwoo, remember balance." He took one final breath, raised his hand, and unleashed all of his energy at once. The blast rippled through the realm, pure shadow colliding with corrupted light. For a single heartbeat, everything went white. Then everything fell silent. In that stillness, Goto's blurred voice reached him somewhere beyond hearing. "We did it, right?" Jinwoo felt his consciousness drifting again. His last glimpse of the world was of Neo-Tokyo shining once more, its skyline stitched together from fragments of shadow and light. Then darkness claimed him. Light flickered. Then came a breath. Jinwoo gasped awake, eyes snapping open. He lay on a cracked surface that glowed faintly beneath him, a layer between solid and dream. The air shimmered like heat waves. Beyond the hazy horizon, fragments of earth hovered in empty space, drifting through the remains of the shattered bridge. He sat up slowly, head heavy, the memory of the explosion echoing inside his chest. Every heartbeat felt like thunder. "Where?" he whispered. "Where am I?" A faint groan answered from a short distance away. Goto lay sprawled near the edge of the platform, smoke rising softly from his armor. His katana was embedded in the ground beside him, still glowing along its edge. Jinwoo crawled to him, shaking his arm gently. "Ryuji. Wake up." Goto's eyes opened midway through a grunt. "You hit harder than I thought," he muttered. Jinwoo laughed once, weakly. "You're alive." "Barely," Goto said, sitting up. He looked around the endless glow. "So, did we win?" Jinwoo's expression darkened. "I don't know yet." The world around them was still breaking apart. From the horizon, streaks of light rose and fell like the beating pulse of a giant heart, each one fading faster than the last. The sky shimmered with torn fragments of Neo-Tokyo's skyline, flashes of reality that bled through the void. Trembling, Jinwoo stood. The core inside him had grown quiet, too quiet. It pulsed faintly beneath his skin, no longer violent but dangerously still. Goto rested his sword across his shoulder. "What now?" "We finish it," Jinwoo said. "Didn't we just finish it?" "This is only the half of it." A sudden tremor ran through the bridge. Cracks spider-webbed across the glowing surface beneath their feet. From the fissures, dark mist poured upward, dense and alive. Jinwoo's instincts sharpened instantly. "Get back." The mist condensed into shape, the faint silhouette of the commander, now stripped of her mechanical form but still clinging to existence as pure energy. Her face was half-formed, eyes burning with hatred and sorrow. "You destroyed my body," her echoing voice declared, "but as long as this realm exists, I cannot die. I am the echo of every shadow you've awakened." Goto drew his blade again, planting his feet. Guess we'll kill an echo too, then. Jinwoo stepped forward, extending one hand toward her. The core responded, lighting his palm with soft light. You brought this on yourself. End it. The commander's form shook violently. Her eyes, for a brief moment, softened. You think you're different from me. But I was once where you stand, believing I could control the bridge. It always ends the same. It consumes whoever loves balance. Jinwoo's voice trembled. Then I'll be the first exception. He unleashed a surge of power that radiated outward, light and darkness intertwining. The commander's form shattered into shards that scattered through the void like starlight. When the last piece faded, the entire realm began collapsing. The remaining light twisted inward, pulling cracks of earth and air toward a central vortex above them. The bridge was closing. Goto shielded his eyes from the storm. That looks bad. It's closing too fast. Jinwoo shouted. We have to get out now. They ran toward the edge of the platform, but every path ahead began dissolving. The light swallowed the fragments before their feet could touch. Goto glanced at Jinwoo. So tell me the plan, Shadow. No plan, Jinwoo said, summoning the remainder of his power. The shadow beneath him expanded, thin, weak, but still able to form wings. Hold on. Without hesitation, Goto clamped a hand on his shoulder as Jinwoo launched upward, wings cutting through collapsing debris. The vortex pulled them higher into spiraling energy. Every second felt heavier, each turn of gravity threatening to tear them apart. Faster, Goto shouted. We're losing ground. Jinwoo pushed his limits. Pain flared through his arms, veins glowing. The core burned, begging to explode again, but he forced it down. The bridge of light shone brighter, then broke open at the peak. They shot through. Blinding light gave way to darkness. Then sound, rain, distant sirens, the hum of engines. Jinwoo crashed through water, sinking deep before forcing himself upward. He broke the surface, gasping. The cold air bit his lungs. He turned in panic, searching, then saw Goto surfacing a few meters away, still clutching his katana. The skyline of Neo-Tokyo stretched before them, scarred and quiet. The storm had passed. Half the city's towers still flickered, the other half reduced to shadow and smoke. They had returned. Goto tread water beside him, coughing once. Back, home. Jinwoo nodded slowly, staring at the sky where Umbra Tower once stood. It was gone, replaced by a swirling void ring, still, silent, like an eye watching the earth. He whispered, the bridge remains. Goto floated beside him, exhausted but defiant. Then so do we. They drifted toward the harbor's edge, the faint glow of emergency lights reflecting across the shattered water. On a distant rooftop, hidden by the mist, a cloaked silhouette watched them. Her mechanical eye pulsed once, blue, then red. Ayaka was alive. Her voice faded into the calm static. Subjects located. Umbra may have fallen, but the bridge still breathes. Begin Phase 3. As Jinwoo and Goto reached the harbor and collapsed against the cold stone, sirens wailed far above them. Drones scanned the wreckage, their beams sweeping across the night. Goto leaned back, eyes closed, soaking in the rain. How many lives did we just save? Jinwoo didn't answer. He looked at his reflection in a puddle nearby. The faint spiral mark of the core pulsed again, brighter than before. He whispered under his breath, it's not over. Lightning flashed somewhere beyond the skyline. The next storm was already building. The shadows moved. The bridge whispered. And far above, the ring of light expanded ever so slightly, breathing. The war between light and shadow has only just begun. Jinwoo and Goto survived the bridge, but Neo-Tokyo is forever changed. The tower has fallen, yet Umbra's influence remains, growing in silence, waiting for its next move. What new enemies await our heroes? What secrets lie within the bridge that still hangs over their city? Stay tuned for Part 2 of Jinwoo vs. Goto Ryuji, the ultimate battle. If you felt every moment of this journey, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The storm will rise again soon.